luckiest trooper in the battalion. Engage the safety immediately, Lumberjacks.
First of all, let me start off with the price tag. Yes, I paid $70 for Ratchet and Clank, even though I said that I would not buy a game at $70. But the reason why I did it is actually two reasons. First one being, I just really wanted to buy a game that was made specifically for my PlayStation 5, considering that I haven't bought any games that are made for it, not even the cross-gen ones. The only games that I've been playing thus far are the PlayStation 4 games, which are fine, but aren't necessarily made for the PlayStation 5. So I wanted to see exactly what the advantages my PlayStation 5 offered. And the reason number two is simple. Actually, now thinking, I have three reasons. Number two is actually quite simple. There is no microtransactions or season passes in this game. $70 is all you have to pay, and you get a complete game without nickel and diming, so I appreciate that offer. But the most important reason why I chose to bite the bullet and pay the extra $10 was because the developers of this game didn't have to crunch in order to make it, like in most AAA companies. In fact, management always encouraged their employees not to go over the 40-hour work week and not to burn themselves out. Now, of course, some people did have to work late because some days do go late, but that was the exception and not the rule. And given that I'm someone that works salary and has to work about 50 hours plus a week, I can understand the benefits of working a 40-hour work week, especially when you have a life to live. So that being said, let me give you my first impressions. Boy, was I blown away from the beginning. Mostly, obviously, the graphics are stunning. Probably the best looking game that I've ever played. And in the beginning of this game, you get that aha moment. The same way you got in BioShock after you crash landed into the ocean. You're just floating there waiting, only to realize that you're actually in game, and yes, the graphics look that good. I had that exact same moment in Ratchet and Clank. It's the closest to a Pixar movie animation-wise that we've ever seen. And there's just so much going on in the world in the background, the skyboxes. And even though they are skyboxes, it still brings in that immersion into the game. And if all that stuff wasn't there, it would take away from the experience. So even though a lot of it is not interactive, it still brings a lot to the table. Now, one of the biggest things that I was worried about was the gameplay. We all know the Ratchet and Clank gameplay. It hasn't really evolved in the PlayStation 2 era. Even with these portals thus far, I'm fairly early in the campaign, about maybe 3 hours in, and I haven't quite seen them use these portals in any revolutionary way. You just pretty much teleport from one part of the map to the other. Now, there are little parts where you can discover outside the beaten path, where you can find other portals to other dimensions, which is pretty cool. Then you get collectibles, these little robots, which eventually will unlock stuff, and you can also get different costumes and such, which is pretty fun, and it keeps you exploring. Now, one thing that I like about this world is that you don't really have to explore too far off the beaten path, so you still stay focused on the mission. Unlike a lot of open world games where you just keep on going and get lost. However, that being said, I wouldn't mind Ratchet and Clank being an open world game. I mean, they built these characters that are so believable. This world is so believable that I wouldn't mind just walking around learning about different people and the lore behind the game. But given all that, I still appreciate a game that starts and finishes within 20 hours. And that is what I hear we get from this game. Now, I'm gonna take my time, and I'm gonna explore every nook and cranny to make sure that I get my $70 worth of this game. But so far, all signs point to greatness. And even though I'm having so much fun with this game, it's still not a 10 out of 10. In my first run through, on my first boss fight, I actually had to reset the game, or actually kill myself, jump off the edge, because the boss was stuck. He wouldn't proceed with the battle. But other than that, I really haven't had much problems, but like I said, I'm only early in the game. So far, I've only unlocked about maybe 5 weapons, and even though they're simple ones, they're still pretty fun to use. So far, my favorite one is this pixel gun, where you shoot them, they turn to pixels, and then you can actually shoot them further to explode them even more. Or you can just leave them there as decoration if you like. And I haven't even talked about the riding, which is funny. Not only interacting with characters and vendors, but I also like listening to the regular aliens in the game. And boy, do these aliens look good. So as of right now, even though I'm early in the game, I can honestly say that I am impressed. Impressed with the graphics, impressed with the presentation, impressed with the writing, impressed with the world. And even though I'm not yet hooked on the whole rift mechanic, opening portals from here to there, I do hear that it does get a little bit better throughout the game. So I'm hoping that by the time I finish, or by the time I get towards the end, that the portal system will open up a lot more and actually propel the gameplay a little further so that it catches up to the graphics and the presentation that Insomniac has done with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.